What the heck is the civil rights movement? People tell me that all the time. People ask me because I'm always saying that my name is Tamon Pearson and I am the chief of the unapologetic movement, the civil rights movement. And they always ask me, WTF is the civil rights movement? I'll tell you. The civil rights movement is something that I came up with to explain what we in our community, how we should look at racism and how we should tackle it. And it is using our economic means, using economics to overcome racism, which makes all the sense in the world because everything that racism started with is economic. People like to think about racism as hate and racism as a hateful attack, and they can't stand us and they hate us. And while that might be true, that is a construct. It's been created that way. They don't like you because you represent competition. What do you mean you represent competition? I'll get to that. Racism starts with economic competition because it's all a struggle for goods and resources and the services and who distributes and gains the most from those goods and resources and services and whatnot. It is the primary driving force behind what you see today. Slavery began as economic. You take somebody's labor and you convert it into goods and resources for yourself to gain all of it from you and none of it from them. Everything else that came after that also was a part of an economic thing, not a hate thing. Where did all this stuff that we've been talking about lately, because we just finished Memorial Day and you can't discuss Memorial Day without talking about Black Wall Street. And you can't talk about Black Wall Street without talking about the economic part of Black Wall Street. The reason why they destroyed it was, it was a black part of Tulsa way over there by itself. But why would you destroy it? Why would you attack the homes? And why would you attack the businesses? Because it represented competition. That's what is always at the root of racism. So how do we fight it? We fight that racism by fighting it economically. Not getting mad, not busting out people's windows. You fight it in the pocket. That's how they've been fighting us for 200, 300 years. You fight that back economically. And that's what the civil rights movement is all about. When I talk to people about it, that's what I talk to them about. Well, recently, here at Thumbprint Collective, I was challenged by the Thumbprint staff to define it. Well, what does it mean? Yeah, but how do you set that up? How do you go about that? What are you talking about? What are four legs? Four legs to the civil rights movement. And we're going to talk about them this month. And today I'm going to talk about two of them. The civil rights movement is based upon creation and support on embracing and promoting. Today, we're talking about the creation and the support of Black businesses and Black institutions. Those aren't the same thing, even though some of them generate stuff. Institutions and businesses aren't the same. Well, most of the time we talk about we talk about Black business. So what are we talking about? Black people always have businesses. Yeah, but I've said it a couple times. There's a business run by a Black person and there's a Black business. You see, the civil rights movement is all about empowerment of our people. It's all about promotion of our people. What does that mean? In America, you have Black people with this color skin, but we're not all the same color. We run the gamut. I've seen Black people this color, and I've seen Black people this color, and they're all Black. And it's not so much the color as what we're talking about. And all of you have met somebody who was this color, but didn't act Black. So what does that mean? Because people immediately think that means, I got to act all ghetto and all that. That's not what it's talking about, per se. Black is about, when we talk to other people who aren't Black, you have four things that come into play: race, nationality, ethnicity, and culture. Race, nationality, ethnicity, and culture. Race is what you look like. The race. There are Black people, white people, Asian people, all Indian people, the gamut. Race is what you look like. But any Asian person will tell you all Asians aren't the same. And there's an ethnicity within that. Chinese, like there are billions of Chinese. Yeah, but they're not all the same Chinese. There are Han. There are, I think it's called Chin. I'm not sure all of the Chinese ethnicities, so don't get me the line. But I know there are different ethnicities within that race of Chinese and that nationality of Chinese. There are always different ethnicities outside of just race and outside of nationality. If you talk to Jamaicans, for example, if any of you watch the Verses, and I love this Verses, I love the whole Verses thing, I love the celebration of black music. But if you watch the Verses between Beanie Man and Bounty Killer, their race is what you would consider black. But their nationality is very much Jamaican. They were proud of their Jamaican heritage. And don't get it twisted, Jamaica has a very racist history toward black people. And they'll tell you that. It's part of what Rastafari has come out of. I'll get to that in a little bit. Race, nationality are one thing. Ethnicity and culture come out of that. Like I said, the Han are Chinese. They're Asian by race, they're Chinese by nationality, but the Han have a different, I think it's Han or Han, H-A-N, one of those. They have a different ethnicity than other people in China. They have a different background. The same goes for Asians in Japan or Korea or Cambodia or all over Asia. Being Asian in your designation is a small way to look at somebody. And nationality and ethnicity are very closely related. So when I tell you that there are ethnic black people, we're talking about black people who are from here, who have the habits of Americans, who have been raised Americanized in their mindset. They're American black people. A Jamaican who comes here has a different culture, a different identity than I do. He thinks differently than I do. He thinks as a Jamaican would. So would a Brit from England. So would a black person from France. They're not all the same. And that's because where culture comes from, because culture comes out of ethnicity. Ethnicity is who and where you are, coming out of nationality, and culture is how you respond in that. How do you eat? How do you drink? How do you hang out? How do you talk? What do you do? What's part of the way that you interact with each other and with others? That's part of a culture. There are good parts of culture and there are bad parts of culture. Now, what does all that have to do with the civil rights movement? This people in this country, American black people, what some people call the American descendants of slaves, what others would call African American, Afro American, black, antiquated ways. You should address us as Negro or colored, whatever you want to call those people. Those people are the ones who I'm talking about from here. Us and our ancestors of us and the descendants that will come from us. How we act, how we talk, all of that is important to me. The uplifting of that ethnicity through economic means is what the civil rights movement is from. That's what I do this for. That's what all of that is for the advancement of black people, for the enhancement of our people and our culture, for the support and promotion of black people and our culture, and doing all of that through economic means. And the best way of doing that, one of the best ways, the two ways that we're talking about today, are through business and through our institutions and the ownership and control of those businesses and institutions. Now then, let me take you back to Black Wall Street again. I'm sorry. It's a hot day. I'm thirsty. But that's going to go toward part of my point. You might have woke up, whenever you woke up, it's a Saturday today, so let's use today. You woke up, you rolled out of bed, out of your blankets and sheets, and you might have gotten dressed or taken your shower. I'm a morning shower person. I don't like to do shower before I go to sleep. We can have that argument another day. Everybody has their things that you get up, you watch it, you watch a TV show, or you on your TV. In your room, you might light your candles like I do around. I have candles all over the house. You might make your breakfast or go to get your oil done or your tires or whatever you do as you're running your errands on Saturday. For some of you, you might have went to worship today because you're Sabbatarians and you worship on Saturday. So you went to whatever institution that was and you did things there. Or you went to see family, or you drove on the roads to see them, or you made sure you used your hair products before you left or put on whatever shoes. Every single thing that I just named out of all of that comes from a business. And one of the things that made Black Wall Street so wonderful is every single one of those businesses that I just mentioned was owned and controlled by Black people. You had Black barbers for your hair, Black butchers for your food, Black grocers for where you went to eat. If you didn't have a car, and it was 1921, so everybody didn't have one at the time, there were 2 different bus lines that were running, owned and operated by Black people. The tailor or the clothing shops were owned by Black people. A lot of the food that they got came from Black farmers. You had liquor, you had smoke, you had tobacco, you had items for the house, for a desk, a lamp, chairs. All of these things in that community were run and owned by Black people. If you didn't have a business, you were a business professional, which means you were a doctor who dealt with Black patients, or a lawyer who dealt with Black clients, or a dentist who worked with Black people's teeth, or you had secretaries and people in that office who dealt with you, who might have had a temp service or worked on their own as Black people. So the dollar circulated. And it meant that Greenwood, Tulsa was very successful because all of those dollars circulated amongst that people. Everybody who was doing that work had the idea of, we are doing this for the support of our people and our community. That's what those freedom towns all over America were for. People left the South where it was horrible and came out this way so they could build up these towns for each other. They understood what segregation and all of that were. They didn't let that part mess them up. They went over here to their own little section and built that. It took stuff like race riots for Tulsa, or, as I talked about here in LA, building freeways through Black parts of town to break those things up. They also didn't have the mindset of what we're talking about. Much like the Jews, when they created their better mindset, they had a mindset that created a better section for them, but their eventual goal was to integrate with the WASP community. This is part of where the Jews lost their power in the 20s and 30s and 40s. Well, right around World War II, because they were trying to integrate with the others. That's why they went to live in their neighborhoods and their communities. So because they wanted to show, see, we've gotten this, we're like you. I want to emphasize that we don't be like them. Black businesses are different because they have a purpose, not just so you can, spend the dollar to make 10, not just so you can join the capitalist dream, but so you can also build up your community, your people, your ethnicity, your culture. That's what the businesses are for the promotion and elevation of our businesses and culture. All of us have a role in this, the middle class, the working class, and the upper class. The middle class, well, our job is to create these businesses. And as you heard me talking, I talked about betting. And see, we like to think about Black businesses like, well, I'm going to make some oil, or that's one part. But we need essential Black businesses. We need Black businesses at every level. So if you're wondering what kind of Black business can I create, it depends on what kind you want to create. If you can make oil, do it. Desks, do it. If you can create phones and promote it with people, do it. Yeah, we live in America where a lot of the duopolies and monopolies control a lot of stuff. When that's what our Black networking with each other is for. So we can create these businesses and go to them and work our way dealing with them. And you have to understand, like BET didn't, like a lot of the Duke hair care products, like Motown didn't. A lot of these places didn't. You have to understand that your business is bigger than just you being a billionaire. It's bigger than that. You have maybe you don't feel like you have an obligation. At one point, your business is probably a business owned by a Black person. But if you understand what we're going through in this community and what we're for, you have an obligation for your business to go toward the promotion of Black people. That's what it's for. The watch that I have on right now, probably my favorite birthday present ever, is a Tally & Twine watch. It is a Black-owned watchmaker. I am looking for the label where I can get a bunch of frames from a Black-owned person. Black-owned clothing, a Black man gave me this desk. Most of the stuff that's here in my home office was either built by or created by somebody black. I obtained them. Almost everything in this office that I have was attained by somebody black, with the exception of my TV and my TV stand. Everything else in here, I either bought from or attained from someone who's a black person. Which means even if you can't buy a black product, you can buy it from that black person who can then use it to continue the cycle. You see, I went completely blank on my boy. Dr. Claude Anderson. Went completely blank. He once said something that was very smart to me. He said, what we're supposed to do as black people who are about this black business life is you sell to everybody. You buy from each other. So as much as possible, you are buying from each other and selling to others. So I'm not telling you limit who you sell to. I'm saying limit who you buy from. We have means to do this. For us in the middle class, we should be creating these things. People who are in the middle class, those of us who are in the working class, you support it as much as you can. I know it's hard because some of us have products that cost more because we don't have the luxury of exploiting slave labor like the Chinese do, or buying out everybody and exploiting low wages like major companies do. So your products cost a little bit more. So for you in the working class, I'm not saying everything that you do in your house has to be black owned. That's almost impossible. But there are products that can be bought, that can be sold, that can be distributed among us in the working class that we can afford to get. Some of the hair care products, some of the laundry products like True Laundry. I know a lot of people who do creams and soaps. There are things for your hair, things for teeth. There are all kinds of stuff that we can get where we can help to promote these businesses amongst ourselves. We don't have a Black Wall Street right now because we don't all live in the same place. We were taught during this last 20th century that it's okay for us to all integrate, not understanding when you integrate with everybody, you dilute your own power. Now you have all these communities with sprinkles of black people, and you have very few communities that have kept that concentration. When you have this, these are all fingers. These fingers are all doing their things. There's not nearly as much power with this. When you're together, now there's a fist. Now there's power. Now we can really do something. This is one of the reasons why this was always such a big deal. It showed the power that you can do when you're united. We haven't been united. We have been taught not to be united. We were united once upon a time, but they continue to try to destroy us in an era where nobody was really thinking about us. But now with all of the focus being on blackness and now all the focus being on trying to be woke, which is what they're trying to be, you don't have to be woke. You just got to be you. And they'll come to patronize you. And when people try to tear it down, well, we have means now to put that out there. When Black Wall Street happened, the headline in the Tulsa said 2 whites died in race riot. That's called false news. That's fake news. That's the real definition of fake news. Because that's not the story. That's the story they put out. We now have the means to control our own story. Let the middle class create these businesses. The working class will support them. And the upper class, you people who really make some money, you're the ones who need to promote it. I remember how cross colors became such a big thing back in the day because Snoop and them would wear the colors. They would wear them. Same with Karl Kani. These are fashions that became big because high-end people had them on. You looked on a TV show and celebrities had that gear on. That's the same thing that happens today. That's what influencers are all about. You have to promote those things, you from the upper class. That's what the civil rights movement means. There are lots of different means to this, but it all comes down to the middle class creates it, the working class supports it, and the upper class promotes it. The main idea is in all of that, giving back to us and focusing on us. The promotion of us, the promotion of our businesses, the promotion of what we do. These are things that Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King all wanted. All three of them. This is something that is not new. This is something that is not foreign. This is something that has been lost. In the civil rights movement, we were fighting to make sure people knew we were alive. And once they finally said, okay, we recognize you as alive people, here's a few jobs and here's a few things, it got lost. We kind of lost our way. Civil rights gives us a way to always put this back, and it's transcended. It goes from the wealthiest black person to the poorest one. All of the issues that exist in our community can be solved by us. But again, to quote The Departed, no one's going to give it to us. We're going to have to take it. And we don't have to go riot and run down their streets and tear down their homes, because that's not going to help us. What we do need to do is put together our businesses, our wealth, our community, so that we can continue to do these things that we need. Political power does not exist without the economic power behind it. The Asians just showed you that. They got together because Asians were being harassed and hurt and beaten up. And they put their wealth to their politics. And lo and behold, they got bills passed and got money sent their way. That's how it happens. It's the only way it happens. You don't have it because our politicians don't fear our money. They might fear losing our votes, but they don't fear losing our money because we don't have any for them to fear. When you have that, then they fear you. When you have the wealth to say, we won't vote for you, we won't promote your party, we won't do anything for you, now you're talking. Then they listen to you. And when you do that, when you have that kind of power, you court both parties. And both parties come to you and say, this is what we're going to do for you. And then what are you coming with? Well, this is what we're going to do for you. And then we can make a collective decision. You see, we're so far behind the 8 ball. So many things have happened to us collectively as a community that in order to save us, we really can't have a capitalist idea. And we really can't have a communist idea. And we really can't have So we can't have any of the isms that they're working with. We got a completely new model. And the only way to have that model is to participate in it with our black businesses. And I'm going to conclude with this part on our black institutions. You need black institutions, not just the church, but the church is one of them. You need things like insurance companies. If you can get them, power companies. Things that are outside of the traditional business model. Hospitals, education, which we'll get to in a couple weeks. These are things that are necessary because, again, these are how you promote and advance our culture, our people, and our companies. This isn't just for economic empowerment, although it helps. When you build businesses, you build wealth. When you build wealth, you build a means to acquire homes and to start to invest in the market. These are the things that create wealth. Wealth creates political power for generations to come. You can't solve our issues without wealth. We have education. We've been going to get education. But without the things that come from it, without a professional class that also has the civil rights movement in mind, it's for nothing. All of the athletes, all of the doctors, all of the lawyers, unless that mindset comes back here, it's nothing. It's all hands on deck if we're going to save our people. Because in a minute, we're about to get lost. Here where I live in Los Angeles, there were black communities that have been here for decades, and they're all being gentrified. They're being wiped out. We're going to be scattered, a bunch of specks of pepper in a sea of salt, if we don't take some sort of control over that. Any black business that you're dealing with, any black institution that you're dealing with needs to be about the civil rights movement. That means they need to be about the promotion and advancement and empowerment of black people. And if they are not about that, they should not get your money and they should not get your patronage. And yes, that includes the churches that you go to. I'll go ahead and say it again. Most of these white evangelicals do not care about what happens to us. They think that the gospel transcends race. And when they think that, they're also not looking at our ethnicity, at who we are here. And when they have that towards you, when they tell you that it's about your race and it's not about race and they have no concern for you, that is someplace you have no business being. I know we like to think that in the black community, we need the white people to come and teach us the gospel, the right thing. And I go ahead and tell you that gospel that we got in our community, that gospel that we've worked it with for decades, that me, Ma, and Papa was doing, that gospel sure worked for them. It got them through through civil rights. It got them through Jim Crow. It got them through slavery. It got them through racism. That's the gospel that got them through. And at the same time, they built businesses, they built institutions. If your church is not about us, it's not somewhere you should be about. I love my Savior. I love the Lord. But the gospel is for where we going after we leave here. It's about our right standing with him. We need to get right now. We can have theological arguments later on. Right now, it's all hands on deck. We cannot solve the problem of police without the wealth behind the political movement. We cannot solve the problems of the school to prison pipeline without the wealth behind our politics. We cannot solve the problems of our community by praying for everybody. If we could have did that, it would have happened already. And we can argue about whether it's the God of the Nation of Islam or whether it's the God of Christianity or whether it's the God of Hebrew Israelites. But you all of you are scrubbing the deck, rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. If we don't come together and solve this through our economic means, we're done for. And that's what this is about. As a matter of fact, that's what the Thumbprint Collective is about, where I'm going live from right now. Our whole focus on the Thumbprint here is not to compete with you for business, but to promote and elevate your black business. We got you a staff so you don't have to have one. We take care of your marketing. We take care of your social media. We take care of getting your stuff out so you can do what you're supposed to do. Focus on this black business. Focus on getting more black jobs. Focus on putting stuff out to more black people. Focus on recycling this black dollar. And I don't care if you get wealthy in the process. By all means, even when you got your wealth, though, remember to continue to promote and elevate black people. We are here for your wealth. We are here for your success here at Thumbprint. We just do it in the most blickety black way we can. So come deal with us. Here at Thumbprint, that's what we're about. We're about black business. We're about black institutions. And that's what the promotion of this is for. thumbprintcollective.com/silver-rights. You can come get if you want to talk about the civil rights movement, or just thumbprintcollective.com if you want to talk to us. We will help you build your black business right now. And we don't care if it's something so small where you're dealing with candles, or we don't care if you're so large and you're trying to promote a black national grocery chain. We are here for it. Whatever your black business needs are, we got them. We got the staff. We got the people. We got the writing that you need. We got the promotion that you need. We are here. For us, do we make $1 off of it? Yeah, but ultimately, the point of it is to promote the people. The information is free. Somebody puts in the plumbing and we the plumbers. First two legs of the civil rights movement are the creation and the promotion of black business and the creation and promotion and support for both of these of black institutions. That's what we're here for. That's what we do. Any questions? My name is Tamon Pearson. I am chief of the Unapologetic Movement. You can get back at it again. Thumbprintcollective.com, silver-rights. Come get at us over there wherever you are. This is what we do. This is who we are. And we want you to be about it too. Enjoy your weekend. Next week, we will talk about black education in the civil rights movement.